for those of you that have been on time, and get started right away. So first of all, thank you. Welcome to our session on Veeam today. So I'm super excited that you've taken the time out. If you're here, I know that means that your data security and privacy and backups is important to you. So those of you that have already partnered with Sentia, and there are a few on us that we've already done backup projects with, just want to say we appreciate your business. For those of you that are new, perhaps, to Sentia, I hope you enjoy the presentation today, and we trust the information that we're going to bring forward is going to be useful for you. So if I could get to the opener slide, please. I think it's just introductions. I want to introduce my team. All right, so I wanted to introduce my colleagues. So if you haven't met me in person, I know we've got a couple people from, or at least somebody from Grand Bahama who's not met my face, but I think we've communicated via email. So I'm Helen Roll. I'm Business Development Manager for Sentia. It's 5 years now, can't believe it. Chris, can you believe it? It's 5 years now with Sentia, and prior to that I was with IBM in the Bahamas for 10 years. So although I still sound Canadian, I consider myself, especially with my last name, one of you, and Bahamas is my home. I'm here on the ground, and if you haven't met me, let's just certainly take some more time to get to know each other a little bit better after this call. My colleagues that are with me from Sentia also is Christopher Fajardo. So Chris is one of our sales engineers. He'll be doing, services engineers, and he'll be doing a section specific to backing up Office 365 a little later. And from our business partner at Astec is Ismail Reyes, and he is here, who will be our keynote speaker for the day as a Veeam specialist. Moving right along, I just want to set some protocols for the day. So a little bit of housekeeping tidbits so we're all in order. The one that isn't here is this is interactive, and although the first point is please make sure your microphone or telephone is muted. If you do want to say something, just lift your hand. There's the hand dot, raise your hand, and the speakers will be notified. We do want to be able to answer your questions, so as soon as there's a moment, if you've been on a Sentia video call before, we do not want to just bark at you and talk to you. We want to hear from you. We're a small boutique company, and we want to make sure that we're addressing your needs. So please feel free to speak up. Use the chat down below. You should be able to see it on your screen. So your Q&A, raise your hand and then put your question down in the chat. That would be helpful. If for whatever reason there is an email or a question that we can't answer, we promise we will get back to you and we'll send you an email after. And then finally, just please, we have a quick survey we're going to do at the end and a poll, and we need you to answer those questions so we know how we speak to you moving forward. All right, next slide, please. Here's our agenda for the day. So super high level, brief introduction of Sentia. That may have been moved later, so if that slide comes up, that's fine. We're going to be talking about the latest in data protection and cybersecurity trends. They're changing, it's evolving, and it's an evolving topic. So we're going to talk to you from a Veeam perspective, what's happening today. Why would you want to partner with Sentia and Veeam? You have choices to who you do your business with. So we'll talk to you a little bit about why we've had success here in the Bahamas and why we think we're a good partner for you. Then we're going to be speaking about the Veeam Availability Suite. I know some of you are interested in this. This is the new version of Veeam, so we're going to talk about that and why that's relevant today, how you can protect your data from ransomware, and that sort of ties into Veeam 11 because there's a bit of a marriage with some additions that Veeam has put in to version 11. Something that we're seeing with a lot of customers is around Office 365. So when customers move to Office 365, they think, hey, my data's in the cloud, it's already backed up. Well, technically, yes, it is, but it isn't Microsoft's responsibility, it's yours. So Chris is gonna talk about that later and we'll discuss what you can do to protect your email. And then we'll just have a short Q&A and call to action at the end. All right, next slide. All right, this is for you. So here's the poll questions that we wanted to be able to do. So what we need to do is see you raise your hands, please. How many of you are already using Veeam?
Okay, in the meantime, Helen, thank you for the introduction. Also, I wanted to thank you guys for joining this webinar today. It will be brief, but we will cover with a lot of interesting information, which we hope it serves as a base regarding what is Veeam and how we can help you as a team. There is a lot of things, different technology things and process things to cover, and we hope this serves as a first step, because of course we can cover everything in a session, but anything that click with you or with your needs, we can later on move forward to have an in-depth call or doing anything else that you guys need.
Okay, so we did see a couple. I think there was only 2 respondents that are already using Veeam. Ismail, just so that you know. Next question, I think.
No, let's move on with the presentation. But before, I just wanted to say briefly that the reason I'm speaking today, I'm a VMware expert in virtualization. Have that accreditation, also many Veeam accreditation. So I've been working of this kind of technologies over 10 years. The last like 8 has been in Adistech. And basically my day-to-day is to do consulting for end users and customers that need to have their environments check up or size up to do recommendations based on Veeam and VMware technologies, which both goes hand in hand. So that's the reason I'm speaking to you today, and I hope moving on can talk to you guys directly in a one-to-one manner. So moving on the reasoning of this webinar, this is some of the customer challenges that we are seeing in 2021 that have been for a while. Customers don't want downtime. We will talk how Veeam can help with that. How can we protect ourselves in the case we have malware or ransomware that we need to take actions, because this is an issue that it can happen to any business, and Veeam is not a security company. Veeam is not there to try to prevent anything. That's for the security players, other companies, but Veeam helps really well in terms of if you have an attack, how can you recover and clean it up really quickly? Because we see it every day in the news that companies are being asked for ransom and that they need to pay in Bitcoin or else, and sometimes they don't have an in place quick way to recover data in a clean state. Sometimes even their backup data is infected with malware or ransomware, and we are going to see how Veeam can help with that. Also, Veeam can help you guys meeting your compliances, not only doing your backups and replication, but also if you want a business view that the goals are being achieved or for regulatory compliance for governments. Also, this is one of the things that I really love about Veeam, is that it's very simple and easy to use. So even though you guys can have a small IT team, you'll be pretty easy to use. Also, while keeping costs in check, because we are going to see later, the solution is really cheap and easy to put into place. So this is what we try to prevent. In the case you have an attack, this is what can happen. This is a study that was done to see what is the impact for businesses. In case you have some kind of attack, you can lose confidence, damage to brand integrity and else. And we're going to see how even if you have an attack, how you can get quickly up and running without much disturbance. So we think the time is now. Few of you have already been, but we are going to talk how Beam can help you achieve that goal. Besides other security products and measures you guys have in place. So this is basically a framework that VMware proposes that help protect your data or your backed up data. So first, you guys need to know where is your data. You need to do a catalog. But Bing is really good showing you guys a business view of your data. Where is your data? How it's being handled? Is it safe? So that is the first step that you guys need to have. Where is my data? Then, how can I protect it? So this 32110 rule is a very interesting thing, and let's talk base with that. So when you have data that you try to protect with backup in case the applications goes down and don't want to comes up, or some data is deleted or corrupted. So when we do a backup, you don't have normally a guarantee that the backup will work when you want to restore it. So this is what Beam proposes to make sure that you guys can recover and that the backups can be infected with some malware or ransomware. So this states that for every data, you need to have 3 copies: your production copy, a backup copy, and then a secondary backup copy, which needs to be in a different media. It can be in tape, it can be on the cloud, but it needs to be on a different media that can be accessed. Because if all these 3 things can be accessed for malware or ransomware, then you are not protecting yourself. So you need to have a different media that can be accessed. And one of them needs to be stored offsite. Some customers do tapes and then they take those tapes to an offsite place. Or some of them decide to move the backups to the cloud, which nowadays is really cheap. In fact, there are some solutions in the public cloud like Glacier or Deep Glacier in AWS that can be as cheap as $1 per month per terabyte. So it's really cheap to back up to the cloud for long-term use. And one of them needs to be offline, air gap, or immutable. What does this mean? This means that from here, there is no access to here. So immutable, for example, means that the data, even though you have is your data, you program it so it can be changed or written for an X amount of time. Let's say you say for 100 days, my data is immutable. For the next 100 to 120 days, depending on the configuration, you won't be able to make changes to the data, even if the data is yours. That's what is going to guarantee that even if you have a ransomware attack, your backup data will be just fine. And then this is a big differentiation for Beam. All those backups that you are making, you don't have a certain assurance that they can be made for restores. So Beam have an automated way for different applications like SQL, Exchange, and others to run scripts to see, okay, the backup was made correctly, and then we are going to test it. So it can guarantee that when you need to restore, the restore will be done. And also you will be getting a report regarding this, so you can take action in case you find that some virtual machines aren't being backed up or properly or won't be able to restore. That is the reasoning behind this 32110. So this is the point that you have to ask yourself, am I doing this? Because if you don't, you probably are running some risk. And we know that in the recent weeks, there have been some attacks locally. So try to make sure that if you are not doing this, try to move into this turn-off process to assurance your backup. So then we need to detect. Veeam have tools detect if you are being attacked for ransomware, and also alerts you and integrate with other applications. And then in case you have an issue, you can have your environment orchestrated to do a restore in the way that you set it up, really automated. You also can do tests to guarantee that when something happened, I want to see these 100 virtual machines, 100 servers, how can they recover? We have automated ways to stage the recovery and also give you guys reports for documentations. And then if you guys need some time to make restores, this is pretty interesting, the secure restore, you can, before restoring the machine, run antiviruses and other stuff while you are restoring to guarantee that the data is clean, because sometimes you have the old data that you are not sure if it can have some kind of virus or malware. But when you are doing the restore, you can do that check. Also, there are many other ways to recover. You can recover items like files, emails, at the one scale level, or do instant recovery to recover quickly in seconds. Or this is very interesting as well, data labs, which you can recover in a test environment certain servers just to run tests. So that's also interesting in case you need to do tests on previously backup servers. So we think in all these steps we can make a huge impact, and this is what I propose to you guys today, that we can work on this framework to be able to accomplish the goal or restoring in case we have an incident. So why Veeam? Why we are proposing Veeam to you guys? So Veeam currently is the #1 market leader in terms of quarterly and yearly sales. Also being used in most of the Fortune 500 companies and else. And this is a really interesting score, this NPS, this Net Promoter Score, and it's a score that is being given based on the feedback of the users, how easy it is to use the system, the functionalities that it has, and the satisfaction from the company. And you see the average in the IT industry, it's very low. So they use here a comparison between other brands, let's say like Netflix, that is very loved by a lot of people, and look how high it's been. I have one of these that is only for the IT sector that I can share with you guys as well, but it means that this is loved by customers and that is really easy to use. But also from other third parties that test how good the solution is. Does the solution keep the promises that it intends to solve? And you see how we are positioning in the magic quadrant from Gartner in enterprise backup and recovery. You'll be able to access this directly and see the strength or weakness of each player. I'm really sorry, guys. This is the new computer that I got 2 days ago, and
you're still getting used to it.
Yeah, really sorry. So you guys will be receiving this link, this presentation, and you can click this link or Google it, and you can find the strengths and weakness from all these different players. This helps you guys also to make a decision. So why Sentia, Helen? Can you answer that question, please?
Sure. Okay, so if you've done work with us, and there's some that are on the phone as well that are longstanding partners of ours, so they can probably attest to this. Our mission, we've always been small, a boutique company, but recently the company focus has changed where we're positioning ourselves for growth. And just when we say global leader committed to delivering high-value solutions with excellence, innovation, and trust, we don't necessarily mean a huge company. Like, I think that Sentia will always be streamlined. That's my 5 cents. I mean, perhaps our principals would disagree. We're headquartered in Richmond Hill. We've been in business over 13 years, over 10 of those, probably close to 13 in the Bahamas. Like I said, myself, I've been hands and feet on the street for 5 years, but I was partnered with Sentia while I was with IBM prior to that. And one of my reasons for wanting to work with Sentia is the deep level of skill that they have within their technical team. So I always knew that they brought great solutions to their customers, very professional and committed to putting the customer first. You hear that from a lot of organizations. We're customer centric. That's not always true. I would say in the case of Sentia, it is. So highly skilled subject matter expertise. We have broad specializations in the things that are relevant here in the local marketplace. And as much as hybrid cloud is important, and we're seeing a move to it, and we do have deep skills, which we're investing further in to help customers in the transition to cloud, Bahamas has been slow to adopt migration to the cloud and movement to the cloud. So things like advanced virtualization, business continuity, networking, all things infrastructure is still very relevant to the local market. We are experts and specialists in that space. And when you need to move to infrastructure or to cloud, we'll help you on that journey as well. I would say a unique feature of Sentia's is that we have the ability to design and architect a solution, to sell you that solution, to implement the solution, and ultimately manage it should you not have the skill or you're building up the skill to be able to manage that solution yourself. So really a end-to-end solution provider with what it is that we're bringing to the market. And you can kind of pick and choose which of the sales life cycle, if you will, that you can be a part of. But in general, if we can't design it, install it, and support it, we don't bring it to market. So with Veeam, for example, which brings us here today, we have people who are certified in Veeam. Christopher's one of them. He'll come on and he'll speak in a little bit, and you'll understand that his technical expertise is excellent. And that's one of the things that makes us, I would say, cream of the crop. We do bring together complex solutions to our partners and to our clients. It's no longer, hey, I just need a license for something. You all have very diverse environments. On the call, we have people who have AS400, IBM I, you've got backups, you've got different approaches where some of you are migrating to cloud, some of you are still on-prem only. You have multiple application vendors. How is that supported? How is that relevant? Are you using tape? Are you moving away from tape? These are all conversations that your business partners need to be able to understand and have with you, and we can do that here at Sentia. If I can kind of just put a little pause in it, and our CEO, Chris, our president, if any of you have met, I know Linda's on the call, she would have met him previously. We had a critical customer situation that happened this week out of scope of our contract with the customer. And we've been working with them for days to resolve that customer situation. And I haven't seen that with any of the other vendors. We've got some of their other vendor partners are pushing things in their contract over to us. Our CEO is investing and making sure that the customer gets what they need. Granted, it's a long-standing relationship, so we know they're going to pay us eventually, but it's an example of mobilizing resources and really working with you, the customer, to make sure that you're supported when you need it.
Yeah. Also, Helen wanted to add that we are here also as an extension of Sentia, me by means of Alistec, and also we have on the call Armando from Veeam as well. So have that in mind that it's not only Sentia, but we are working together as a team.
Yeah, and actually, thank you for bringing that up, because we do have excellent relationships with our partners. So, which is why we're here today. Thank you, Ismail. Go ahead. You can move on.
Okay, so this is another poll before we move on.
So just raise your hands on this one again in the thing. Are you backing up your email?
Actually, sorry, Helen, I'm just going to chime in. They can actually hit yes or no. It's been loaded into the tool, so.
I see it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Couple more. 3, 2, 1. All right. So 67% of you no, are not backing it up, and 33 yes.
Great. So now that you guys know why Veeam, why Sentia, let's move on to talk of the technicalities of the Veeam solution that we are going to propose you guys to accomplish your goals. And the solution is, the first one is Veeam backup and replication. So what is that? So it's basically a 4-in-1 solution because people normally think that Veeam is a backup company. It was probably in the beginning, but Veeam have a lot of different solutions now. And this one is like a 4-in-1. Yes, you can do the backups and restore, but you also can do image-based replications to a secondary data center or the cloud, or you can use continuous data protection, which is an online bit-by-bit replication for critical workloads. And you also can use storage snapshots from your storage provider to have also a quicker backup or a quicker restore. We are going to be talking about some of the enhancements that have been made in this version 11, and this is something that I love from Veeam, that in each new version, they add a lot of new interesting things every year. So even though we are in version 11, you guys can be assured that when version 12s come, you're going to be having a new enhancement on things that you are not using now, like the guys that were in version 10, and then they are receiving all these new features. So even though you are making an investment now based on the features that are now, the company is one of the best companies in the tech industry, adding really good features every time there is a new version. And basically, these are the main things that Veeam backup and replication solution covers. You have the backups, you have the recovery, which are many ways to recover. You can recover whole servers, you can recover disks, you can recover single files or single items like a table from a database or an email. You can also make backup copies to the cloud. You can do automations and integrations with third parties. This is the replication. This is really interesting, the data reuse, because the data that is backed up, you can use it like for tests. Also, the solution is very secure. You can encrypt your backups and have really good measures of securing your data from ransomware. And also, since the solution is 100% virtual, you can work with any third parties of storage. So even if you have a storage device now, it can work with Veeam. It's very rarely that something can work with Veeam, but since this is a virtual solution, it can work with anybody. You won't be required to buy a specific storage backup, like some vendors force you to do. So which are the new capabilities in version 11? So like I said, Veeam added continuous data protection for those critical workloads. This is a new repository to store data, which we'll be covering in the ransomware part, because it pertains to how can we protect for ransomware. And let's explain these other three in depth. So what does continuous data protection means? Before, the solution could do image-based replication, which means you take an image or a snapshot of the machines and then you replicate that snapshot. But the RPO of that could normally be 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, depending on the conditions. But what this CDP protection provides is that you can have a sub-minute RPO, which means if the data center of the workload goes down, how much data you will be losing for the moment. So this is constantly replicating, and this is a feature that normally costs a lot from third-party solutions, and this is being integrated in Veeam backup and replication solution for free. Have that in mind that probably very few backup solutions have this integrated. Also, you can do archiving to the cloud. Before, you could do backup copies of data, but the archiving is it means that some public cloud provider has that store objects like if it were tape. It's a different way to store things. So most of the backup solutions don't work with those archive solutions from public cloud. And this was something that was added in the latest release. Before, we can do backup copies to things like S3 or blobs from Azure. But now we can do archiving, which is really, really cheap. Like I said in the beginning, sometimes it can be as cheap as $1 per terabyte monthly, and your data being in the cloud. Also, we expanded the instant recovery features to add instant recovery for certain databases and applications. And also, we can do now multiple instant recovery. Before, we only could do one at a time. And instant recovery means that if you have a downtime for one or multiple applications, you don't want to do a restore that could take time. Sometimes you want, okay, let's turn on the machine and Veeam can turn the machine right away in seconds. And then when the machine is up, you can decide, okay, I'm going to move the machine to production or take another actions. But you can have the machine up and running really quickly in seconds. And this is really important because some customers can have physical servers. And even though if the server is physical, like in case of some Active Directory or others, you can also recover this instantly. So this is a really, really nice feature. Some additional capabilities that were added, you now can protect your Mac endpoints. The solution not only protects those physical or workload servers, but also your Windows desktops and now Mac. Also, they improve the duplication performances with some appliances, and also it was improved the backup for NAS, because we can also back up your network attached storage devices. There were improvements in some things pertaining cloud. And this is a thing that in every version, we are adding new capabilities to make backup copies or archiving to your favorite cloud provider. Before, we only worked with AWS, sorry. Then we will begin to work with Azure, and now there is support for Google Cloud. So in time, new offerings or new options are being open for you. So imagine you made your backup, and how can you know if all those backups are being stored correctly and you can recover? How can you make a report? How can you monitor also your infrastructure? So Veeam backup and replication integrates with this other solution that is called Veeam One. In fact, if you saw in the agenda that we are going to be talking regarding Veeam Availability Suite. So Veeam Availability Suite is the combination of Veeam Backup and Replication, which is the software that do the backup, restores, replication, and else, with Veeam One, which is the software that allows you to monitor not only your backup infrastructure and the status of it, but it can monitor also your infrastructure and detect ransomware and other really interesting stuff. So we won't be covering this in depth. I have a slide to show you additional things, but this is also a thing that can be right now installed in your environment and collect information for you to see the value of it. And sometimes we use it to do sizings in the customer environments. And then also you can integrate with the disaster recovery orchestration from Veeam to have a granular recovery in case you lose, for example, your whole data center and you want to recover on a second data center. You want to have a good plan regarding how machines will be starting, in which order and in which priority. And this is a solution that helps with that. Out of the box, Veeam Backup and Replication have some way to do this, but this is like with better features and better granularity. And also in some cases, you want to integrate with some local cloud providers that use this Veeam service, provide console to do backup as a service or disaster recovery as a service. So regarding Veeam, this is what Veeam One can deliver. Besides monitoring your infrastructure, you guys can do reporting for you guys to make reports, for example, from a executive level regarding how good the infrastructure or the backups are running. And you can also do some automations and intelligent learning to solve issues. These are the main features that Veeam One provides: alerting, monitoring and reporting, diagnostics, so to do things beforehand, before they happen. You can also do capacity planning on your infrastructure, chargeback and billing, and also you can do compliance. These are the things that are part of Veeam One that we think it's a really, really great addition to Veeam Backup and Replication to form the Veeam Availability Suite, and it's what we are going to be recommending you guys for your infrastructure. So in terms of security, this is the issue out there. No matter how good is your technology. Yeah, sorry?
Ismail, you want to just check to see if there's any questions or anything so far? I notice people are pretty quiet, and I want to make sure that it's still, by show of hands, can I just get something online? Is this the type of information that you guys were expecting to get? We want to make sure that we're answering your questions. So everybody's gone to sleep, hey?
Yeah, well, I know it's a lot of information, and that's why in the beginning.
There's one or two that are listening. So I would just say in general, let's just kind of quickly go through this. And yeah, okay, we have some responses. That's fine. All right, continue. Just wanted to make sure y'all is awake, you know.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
I repeat this that I say in the beginning. It's a lot of information, we know, but the reasoning of this is for you guys to have an idea, and then some things that may click with you and that you see interesting. We can have a one-to-one conversation and better explain in a more relaxed, with more time, whatever you guys need that pertain your environment. This is basically like an introduction. So again, regarding how can you guys be protected, no matter how good the technology is, you can have the best servers and stuff, you can be using Veeam, but if you don't have all the processes down to the T, like this 3210 rule that I explained in the beginning. And also you are making sure that the people are doing their dues with their passwords and not clicking stuff that they don't need and etc. No matter how good this is, you won't be able to be secure, no matter the products that you have here. You need to think of security as a whole, combining technology with people and with processes. So I need to make sure of that. But regarding technology, these are all the ways that Veeam can help you guys in case you have an incident, in all the ways that Veeam can help you reduce the data that will be lost with all these features like continuous data protection, replication, and else, and also means to recover really quickly, which is what is RTO. So over here is how can I, if I have an incident, how much data will I be losing? And here is how fast can I recover? So for both of these things, Veeam have a lot of different strategies and all of different features to help you guys achieve what every customer wants, to lose the least amount of data and recover as quickly as possible. Another important thing that you guys need to have is encryption, but you also need means to have all those encryption keys stored. I will make fun of me regarding something that happened to me this week, and that's why I say I had this laptop like for 2 days. So on Monday, my laptop failed, and I find out that I don't have the encryption keys from the BitLocker. So currently I'm locked out of my laptop. So that's why this is important, that you only encrypt your data, but that you have a means that all those encryption keys, you can have access to this. Luckily, in my case, I have backup in the cloud for most of my data, but surely I'll be losing some. But hopefully, this don't happen to you on your production data, because the data that I'll be losing is personal, that is not important. But hopefully, it doesn't happen to you. That's why you need to have a tool that store all those encryption key if you are using encryption centrally. And I explained what is immutable in the beginning, and this was something that was added to Veeam, and the possibility to have a repository, which is where the data is being backed up in Linux, which provides this immutability, which is that you lock out the data for X amount of time, and in that lockout period, even if you are the owner of the data, you can make changes. This is what will guarantee you that even though your business can be infected with ransomware or malware, your data will be safe, because there is no way that the data can be changed. Even if you are the super user and the user with the most privilege, you can make changes because the data have a lockout period. And this is very important if you want to prevent malware. And these are other ways that Veeam can help you in terms of preventing malware or ransomware. We talk about immutable backups. They can be local or they can be in the public cloud. You also can have rotating hard drive, which that can be turned off when they are not being written, like Cloud does. And other means in tape and others that can prevent you from ransomware. So it's really important that you have that strategy in place. So moving on why you need a backup from Office 365. Here, Christopher will be explaining it for you. Christopher, go on.
Thank you, Ismael. before I proceed, how many of you here using Office 365? And if you are using Office 365, are you backing it up?
We have one hand.
All right.
Sorry, Chris, at the beginning, it was only one. Well, I'm guessing one just based on, it could be a little bit more, but it was 67% are not backing up their email. Now that doesn't say is it all Office 365.
Right, okay. Yeah, not bad. So actually, yeah, Office 365 is one of my favorite topics when talking about backups, right? Because I find it very interesting to know that, you know, there's only 6 in 10 users of Office 365 do not have a data protection plan, right? So that's very interesting number, right? So if you look at these numbers here, there's quite a lot of Office 365 users, and the organization also, there's, you know, quite a few downloading the Veeam backup for Office 365. But like I said, 60% of these Office 365 users do not have a data protection plan. And these numbers here are still growing, right? Next slide, please. So Microsoft Office 365 is a robust software as a service platform, right? It fits the needs for most of the organization, but when it comes to protecting the user's data, sometimes it's easily get confused. Who's responsible for protecting the Office 365 users' data? Ultimately, you as a owner of your data is the responsible of protecting your data, right? You have to make sure that you have access and control of your data. You have to make sure that whenever there's an accidental deletion of your data, you can recover it. You have to make sure that you are protected from both internal and external threats, right? And you have also to make sure that you comply all the legal requirements of your company. So as you can see here, these are the main reasons why you need to, you know, back up your Office 365. So this is a very interesting report from IDC Research, right? This report here shows the importance of backing up Office 365. According to this report, if you're adopting Office 365 without a backup, it's really a risky strategy, right? So if you wanna see the full report, you can see the link at the bottom of the page. You can just download the report, and this report really give you some good insight, right, on why you really need to back up your Office 365. What's your responsibility versus Microsoft responsibility in terms of data protection.
Yeah, one important thing that I take away from this, sorry, Christopher, I say the key takeaways is that 6 out of 10 don't have a data protection.
That's
well,
right.
That's right. With the numbers that we saw here, it's actually a little bit higher, 67%, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And in the case of a critical outage, you know, sometimes we don't really think about it, but you know, we've been able to see this, unfortunately, on the ground. If you can't access your production systems for any reason, if you've had a critical outage, if you are subject to any kind of a threat, an attack, and you have to lock your systems down, what's the first thing you're going to want to do to be able to communicate with your coworkers in your business? You're going to want to be able to have email, even if you can't like log in. So if your email isn't backed up, it's something that we think, it's not that important, but I think what we're saying is yes, it is.
Right. Yeah, so when you have Office 365, it's actually a shared responsibility between you as the owner of your data and Microsoft. right? So Microsoft is just really making sure that your data, the service is highly available. Probably Microsoft will protect your data from any hardware failure or maybe from any natural disaster, right? So Microsoft is making sure that the compute resources, storage resources, network resources is always available to you. And Microsoft is replicating your data from data center to another data center, maybe within the same region or across different region, right? Just to make sure that the service is always available, right? But one thing I want to highlight here is the security. So if you look at here, Microsoft only is in terms of security, Microsoft is doing it at the infrastructure level only. So Microsoft will make sure that only the authorized person have access to your resources, right? But in terms of protecting your data itself, it is your responsibility, right? From both internal and external threat. So if you look at here, internal threat, it could be any accidental deletion or maybe any tampering of any evidence, right? External, then that's very common. Ransomware, malware, or any hackers, right? That's your responsibility to protect your data. Because if you get infected by ransomware, you cannot go to Microsoft and ask them, hey, Microsoft, can you help me recover my data? No way. They don't guarantee that they can do it. Microsoft will only do a very short-term retention. So make sure that you always back up your Office 365. Make sure you have a backup strategy of your Office 365, because if you look at here, the responsibility between Microsoft and your responsibility, mostly Microsoft is only responsible at the infrastructure level, right? So Microsoft is making sure that your data is highly available in terms of compute resources, network, or storage resources, but protecting the data itself, it is your responsibility. So Office 365, you can back it up to different location. It can be to Azure, Microsoft Azure itself. It can be back up to another cloud provider or another cloud platform, maybe AWS or any other service provider, right? You can even back it up to your local data center. So it's not just that you can only back it up within Microsoft organization, but you can always back it up to any other cloud platform or cloud provider, right? Or even you can bring it back it up to your own data center.
Yeah, so this is basically a summary of what we have been talking today. Just for you to remember that Veeam Backup and Replication is not only a tool that can do backups, recovery, but you can also do image-based replication or continuous data replication. You can integrate the third party. You can add this security layer of protection to your data that you have backup to prevent ransomware and malware. It can work with any storage provider. You can copy those backups to the public cloud, and that data that you back up, you can also use it for testing or lab environments as well. In case, for example, you want to try, okay, I back up this server and I want to try in a lab environment to do a patch. You can do those kind of things as well. So this is the moment of all those questions that we could have. If you can help me with those, Helen.
Here's me talking on mute. Great.
Actually, sorry, Helen. We do have a question that's come through.
Okay, go ahead.
So the question is, how is Veeam backup and replication licensed?
Okay, so there are two main ways that you can license the solution. It can be by the amount of CPUs that you are currently using in your environment. Let's say you have 4 servers, each one with 2 CPUs. It will come to 8 CPUs, and you can license those 8 CPU and protect the amount of virtual machines that you are running on top of those. Or you can also use per instance licenses that no matter if it's a virtual machine or a cloud machine or a physical machine or else, you can license by that way. Let's say you have like 100 virtual machines, physical and another kind of machines. You can license by the amount as well, and it gives you that flexibility because sometimes customers have some workloads in the physical environment or in other premises, and they don't want to pay for the full CPU amount. So basically those two ways, per CPU or per the amount of machines you want to protect. You can have a mix of them as well.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We have another question that has just come through. If I am on version 10, can I upgrade to version 11 easily?
Yeah, actually really easy. Basically, it's an upgrade for the server and its component, but it's a fairly easy task with a wizard. You can also make a backup. In fact, that is the recommended thing to do, that you always have a regular backup of the configuration of the manager. And it's really easy. And if you are on support, you will be able to do upgrades to a new version when the version comes out. And that is really interesting because at some point a version 12 will come and you guys will be also taking advantage of those new features of the new version. But yeah, really easy.
One thing I want to add, Ismail is talking about backup the configuration. So I just want to make sure that you have to back it up to a different location, right? So you don't back it up on the Veeam server itself, back it up to a different location and also make a copy of it, because if you need it and then you don't have the configuration to restore from, then yeah, your backup server is gone. You have to recreate the job. So make sure you back up your configuration and make a copy of it and back it up to another location, not just on the Veeam server itself.
Yeah. If you don't have access, you probably lose the configuration of the backup server. But something really interesting that Veeam has is that each backup is stored separately. So even in the event that you lose the configuration of your backup manager, you still can recreate those backups because each backup have all the information it needs. That is really interesting as well. So do we have more questions?
Yes, we have one final question here. How can I size my environment to determine my backup storage requirements?
Okay, really interesting question. So there are two ways. If you know really well your data, depending on the application, because different applications have different means of the rate that the data is changing and how much it can be compressed and else. If you have a really good understanding regarding your data, we can do a questionnaire and go from there. But if you have no idea, we can use Veeam, install it in your infrastructure, and we can collect that information regarding your applications, how much space they are using, how much data in terms of percentages is changing daily, and other stuff, and we can make a report from there and size the environment.
Okay, great. I think that was it for questions. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. So again, this is just an introduction for you guys to know what is Veeam and how through Sentia we can help you with backup, replication, and securing your data. But it's just a first call. We hope that you give us the opportunity to go in depth regarding this matter pertaining to your environment. And we'll be looking forward to follow up in a one-to-one matter and show you the solution to you guys. Here are some links regarding information that you can see. In fact, let me show one of them really quickly.
Just while you're pulling that up, Ismail, we had a couple people reach out directly asking about the presentation. I know some persons weren't able to catch the first couple minutes. So yes, we can send the deck out to you, but really more importantly, rather than just sending a deck, if you've got some questions, certainly in my experience, it always helps to ask those questions directly to a specialist rather than just looking at the pieces of paper, and that's why we're here. So please, I'll be following up with those of you that are here, but if you have any requests about the upgrade or about Office 365, wanting to add Veeam into your environment and it isn't there, feel free to reach out to me and I will definitely get back to you.
Thank you. So in one of the links that you'll be receiving, this is really interesting that in each of these scenarios, you can click them and see in depth each one of these things. And another thing that I wanted to point out is that all these solutions can be protected, no matter if they are in the cloud, virtual, or physical. These are some of the most well-known operating systems and applications that have a special means to recover things in Veeam. So
Okay.
we'll be sending to you guys the presentation so you can read more if you want, or contact us for more information as well.
Yeah. So with, if there's any other questions, feel free to unmute your mic. You're welcome to bring it to the platform. But really, we just wanted to say thank you. We, as we typically do, we've stayed within the 1 hour time frame. We started a few minutes late, so I know a lot of you are going to want to get back to your day. So if you'd like to drop off, go ahead, and we'll be in touch. If you want to ask a question, Ismail will be on for a few more minutes.
Okay.
And thank you again, everybody, so much for your time. So Barry, I see you've unmuted. So if you wanted to ask a question, you can go ahead.
Oh, I don't know how I got unmuted. I'm good, thanks. I'm sending you an email anyway. Okay.
All right. Okay, well, if nobody else speaks up, we are going to close the call. And again, you can expect a follow-up from myself. I do, just before we go, want to give a special shout out and a thank you to Sarah. She was moderating those questions. So Sarah is my marketing manager with Sentia. And in the background as well, we have a couple other people from the Attestech team that you didn't see. So Rosie, thank you so much. Nigel, just your oversight was great. And Leon's my go-to guy for all of Veeam questions. So
thank you, Helen. My pleasure.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say thanks again. Oh, so we will see everybody soon, okay? And again, thanks for your time. Have a great day.
And there'll be a delivery coming in a couple days, right, Helen?
For all my people here. Oh, yes.
Yes.
If Rosie should have reached out, or one of our local partners. So just as a thank you for attending, we have a little package that will be sent to you. And you just need to let us know where to send it, and we'll make sure that it gets to you. All right. And then everybody in the Bahamas, please stay safe tomorrow. And we will see what happens with our country soon, eh? All right. Thanks, people. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
guys. Have a
Thanks.
great one.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.